Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I think you can. Let me set the alarm for myself because I always overtime. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so glad to see you here, and thank you for showing interest in large language models or small language models or whatever you call it, foundational models. Let me introduce myself because actually, before I introduce myself, I forget to say this. Do you remember the octopus for the World Cup prediction back in 2010? Paul, the octopus? When I was doing the slides, in a way, I thought about Paul, and he predicted 8 World Cups game correctly. And I feel that large language model, in a way, is like Paul, but there's way more billions of parameters. So anyways, let me introduce myself because this is surely my first time meeting with you, all new faces. I'm Jia, hello. I am all the places I've ever been. I'm all the people I've ever loved and whom I exchange knowledge with. I'm all the books I've ever read, all the TikTok videos I ever created, all the communities I ever volunteered, and all the sport races I've ever struggled to finish. All the jobs where someone was taking a chance on me, and all of that plus the potential of who I will ever be. I am Jia. Now, I hope that you don't think that I use AI to generate that because I wrote that myself. It's a little bit like, ooh, but anyways, I wrote that myself. I know it's been 3 days of a lot of information, a lot of new framework. If you want to get a bit of a laugh, right? After this session, I highly suggest that you go to Diamond Cutter 88 on TikTok. I have viral videos that is really funny and it will instantly make you laugh. Anyway, so that's me looking after your mental health. Now, do you remember your first prompt that you wrote? Who remember? No? Oh my God. Come on, don't be shy. Nobody remember. You know, this in order for this session to be successful, we will do a lot of collaborative thing. I'm gonna, towards the end, you're gonna help me improve the prompt. So you will need to shout at me your answer, okay? Don't be shy. So, okay, that's fine. Some of you kind of remember and some of you might not. If you do remember, what did you do with the generated output of your first prompt? You remember that? Okay, yeah, okay, keep that in your mind. This was my first prompt, okay? At the time, we kind of went through a little bit of family drama and I was about to move in with my partner. So I had to message my Asian mom, obviously my mom is Asian, and I tried to ask ChatGPT for my life advice about, hey, what should I do? How should I frame the message? And this sounds really great. Right? Step 1 to 7. I even have to reassure her that our relationship will never change. I actually put in my draft message that she can come over anytime, but actually it was so offensive to her because she was like, well, if your partner's around, I'm not going to go and hang out and, play games with you. It's not that like that in our culture. Okay, and I get that. But that was me being so naive when I first used large language models, okay? That was about like a year-ish ago when it first came out. Okay, now I think because we kind of talk a lot about the large language models in this conference, there are many language models. Actually, who was at the Scott Hanselman session this morning that he showed you there's different models. Beyond GPT, there's hundreds of models, and it's usually categorized by whether it's closed or open, right? Or how many parameters it used to train the models. And you can see GPT, Geminis, and all those things are like in there. It's actually a really good website that you can go into and have a look, and it tells you all the details of different models. Now, what you're going to learn in this session, techniques, tactics, patterns, and all those things can be highly generalized across many of these different models. I did try, and it did improve the response that I get from the language models. So what's out of scope today, because otherwise you have to sit here for the whole the whole day is the text-to-image model. We're not going to touch on it, like DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and alike, as well as multimodality. I'm not going to do the prompts for that because it's take times, and also the behaviors are quite different in those different models as well. So maybe that's something I can do in my next talks. Now, because you are an expert in large language models for all these 3 days, everybody keep talking about how it works. So this is my test to you, all right? What do you think is one word after this sentence? The best thing, nope, you cannot see it. Can you see? Sorry. What do you think about the one word that come after this sentence? The best thing about AI is its ability to, one word. Code. To code, okay. Anybody else? To? To automate, okay. To automate. To create. Predict, suggest, okay, that's good. Okay, it's like some sort of creation. You know, I asked my student in a boot camp, one of them say, take over. Okay, and I was like, wow, that's gonna be really bright for your future. But anyways, they all laugh. But okay, so it's actually say learn. Okay, so at the simplest level, GPT or the other large language models, what they're trying to do is trying to produce reasonable continuation of whatever text that it got so far. And when I say reasonable, it means, you know, when you expect someone that has read or see, you know, a lot of people have written in the billions of web pages, those sort of reasonable. So GPT look at all these things with the sense of we have to match in meanings, and that's where the tokenizations, the embeddings, trying to find the relations in the multi-dimensional space comes in, right? And when you get the output, and some of you that have been in the keynote for today, you see how you can turn that on in OpenAI Playground. So you go on full spectrum, and then it will come up with the probability of the 5 things that it picks. Now, in this case, it's learn. So learn is the likelihood that it kind of see it over and over again from the bajillions of web pages. Okay, let's do another example. 5 ants plus 5 ants equal to? It's like 10 ants. 10 ants. Yes, 10 ants. It is 10, right? 64%. But you know how recent breakthrough of, you know, GPT-4 and beyond, like all the models that are really capable understanding the context, nuances. This model can understand the nuances in our language, the joke, the pun, right? So actually, I was using GPT-4. I'll let you read. I asked 5 plus 5 ants equal to, okay, 10 ants. I was like, is it not 10 ants? I know I love dad jokes. And you guys are so hard to make you laugh. Why? But anyway, so I was like, well, is it not 10 ants? And obviously, like, if you look at the response back, if you use GPT 3.5, it will relentlessly argue with you, right? That is 10. But now it say, hey, it's not 10 ants. 10 ants are the people that, you know, rent an apartment from somebody else. It looks like, you know, it looks like a play on a word. But mathematically, the correct answer is 10 ants. So I think that is really, really fascinating to see. Now, okay, that's a quick overview on the large language model because I'm scared that you will forget what it means, right? So let's talk about trust before we kind of go into the techniques. Now, you know, every time that when the new technology is introduced, there's always this gap between you and the something unknown. You know, that icky, that awkward feeling when... Do you remember when you like go into some stranger car on your first Uber ride? I don't know how many years ago now, but you know, that weird feeling. Or like when you stay at somebody else's home for your holiday for the first time, like how weird is that? Or like when you put yourself in a self-driving car for the first time. Or recently when you copy paste the output from GPT to your performance review with your boss. Who did that? I did. So, you know, like that kind of icky feeling that we have, that's what we refer as a trust gap, right? And we try it a little bit by a little bit. And we are able to cross that gap because each time it kind of increased the trust that we have in the output. So we crossed this gap. And of course, I didn't invent all of these, theory. There's a person, actually, she's from Sydney, Rachel Spotsman. She wrote a book about trust in collaborative consumptions about 10 years ago. I'm not sure if anybody have read it, but she gave a TED Talk in Sydney. And she referred the trust model as the trust is a bridge between the known and the unknown. And when you take a leap, when you're trying to use it and you kind of confined in it, you taking a trust leap in that technology, whatever that is. Doesn't have to be large language model. It could be something else before. Basically, this signifies the tendency to take meaningful risk while believing in a high chance of positive outcome, that it's gonna do the good thing that I hope that it's gonna do, right? So this shows why just enough trust is crucial for innovations or adoption of any new technology for individuals or an organization. But how can we actually facilitate trust to happen? Well, it's by minimizing risk and reducing the uncertainty when we use the technology. So let's have a look. What does it take for us to place trust in someone? So this guy, Charles Green, don't know if anybody knows him. In the year 2000, he come up with this famous trust models, and there's 4 variables into this. There's credibility plus reliability and intimacy of a person, right? And depends on how much you trust them or how trustworthy that person is. If he is more or she is more self-oriented, only care about his own or her goal, then they become less trustworthy, even though super credible, super reliable, super intimate. Now, trust, when I look at this, and I was thinking that actually trust is quite different when it comes to, artificial intelligence that can generate human-like outputs. So I'm casually proposing, I didn't do any extensive research on this, but I'm casually proposing this trust model for generative AI, how trustworthy it is. It depends on, accuracy. I want to know, and this is based on my experience, I want to know if the output provide accurate, correct, up-to-date, evidence-based information. I want to know how reliable the output is, how consistent, how safe, how private, how dependable it is over time across various tasks and conditions that I ask it to. Is the output tailored to individual user? If I ask about marketing for Gen Z, I don't want the outputs to be for Gen Y. I know you think that they're the same generation, but actually they're not. Or transparency, I want to know that when it gives me the recommendation about my career advancement, right? What's the process? What's the context? What's the data that it had gone into process? I want to know, can it tell me that? Or ethics, I want to know, if it adheres to some sort of, ethical standard, fair, non-discriminative, respectful, private, and free from harm. And the last one, the multiplier. So this one is the alignment to what I actually want to get out of it when I actually use it at that time. And it quantify how well the output align with my specific needs. Oops, sorry, I touched my microphone. So anyway, so it acts as a multipliers of the sum of other component, meaning that better alignment will lead to higher trust score. And I know you're engineers here or developers. You're gonna be like, yep, there's a flaw in this equation. Yeah, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a flaw because I do know that it's so hard to quantify all of these elements. You cannot put the number precisely on, maybe personalizations, 1 out of 10, how personalized this is. But I'm putting this out there so you kind of think about it. And in your own way, I'm not sure, in the future, you might come up to me and say, I actually find a way to standardize it. Let's have a chat because I would love to know. I'm so curious, how will we do this? But when I use this based on my personal experience, I was in order for me to trust the output from generative AI, I would kind of think about this as a fundamental. Okay, right. Actually, this is why we kind of talk about prompt engineering today, because you see all of those elements, prompt engineering help increase one way or the other, the elements of the trust model in generative AI. So prompt engineering can help you with more personalization, make sure that it's ethical, the output is ethical, accurate, reliable, and transparent, and align with the objective you're trying to use. So who follow this process when they do prompt engineering? Or kind of like, maybe not prompt engineering, but say you put a prompt into your ChatGPT, GPT tool, large language of choice, who follow this? No? You don't use it, or you just put it in and you just take it as it is. Okay, you raise your eyebrow at me. I think you take it as it is. Okay, that's fine. That's really bold. It's all good. Pretty much like me when I first used ChatGPT and sent that response to my mom, hey? So usually we kind of go through this iterative process of prompt engineering. So we have a goal, right? An example here is I need to create delivery schedule. Write a prompt. I didn't think about some certain condition. The output comes back and say, hey, here's the plan, all like nicely in a good formatted table. And I look at it and it's like, well, actually I don't work during weekdays. Can you move this to weekdays only? Sorry, I don't work during weekends. Did I say weekend or weekdays? I can't remember. But anyways, the output comes out and say, I have to work Saturday and Sunday as well. It's like, no, I don't work on all of these. So move these just for weekdays. And then it refine that. And in real life, I will send that to my account manager because they have to know the schedule of when am I going to interact with my customers. So that's how the iterative process of prompt engineering should go. It's very simple, but in practice, it could be really curly, and it could be, you got to really think hard about like when you interact with it. Okay, so again, as I said, trust is a complex phenomenon. Calculation, equation I propose alone can't describe nuances of human experience. So there are some considerations that I have to think about when I kind of like experiment with large language models. So number one, every word in a prompt matter. Don't know if you can see this. Is it too small? But you probably can see that I am actually not native English speaker. I'm a second language, English as a second language speaker. So for me, like the article doesn't really make sense to me. My intention was to make a lot of money I can in 2024. And there's this phrase where you say, make bank, right? I heard my friends say it all the time, make bank. So it's like, give me a strategy to, make a bank in 2024. And of course, it lists down like as if I'm gonna start my new, NAB bank, or Commonwealth Bank or something like that. But actually I just want to, strategy to invest and just grow the money that I have. So you see, everything in a prompt matters. So it's interesting as well to see the nuances that it kind of picked that, actually make bank and make a bank is different. Now, second thing is that risk perceptions influence trust. It depends on you. It depends on how your upbringing as well. So you can see there's high risk if the tie is really high risk, right? Like for example, you use it in medical settings, in healthcare, then of course it's high risk. You have less trust. You'll be more skeptical about it. If you just use it for, just some weird or practice mathematics like 28 orange trading for Apple and stuff like that. But in real life, I just ask it for fun, then okay, low risk, whatever it comes out, I'll trust it. I'll be less skeptical about it. Or somewhere in between, like, is it a bad feng shui to put a desk in a bedroom? I live in a studio, what should I do? I mean, it also depends on where you're from. For me, feng shui is like, okay, it's kind of important. Like, I don't want to work forever. Because if you put a desk in your bedroom, it means that you're going to work forever. You don't want that, right? So it's kind of like depends on your risk perception that you are going to trust or not trust the output from large language models. Third thing, subjectivity and objectivities. You're all from Sydney, right? You're kind of from here? The majority. Okay. You're very shy. I don't know what can I do to make you jump up on your chair. But anyways, that's not what we're trying to do today. You can see, what's the most popular cuisine among people in Sydney? Thai food or Italian food? What do you think? Anybody thinks Thai food? Yeah, Thai food, Italian food? Okay, I think Thai food because I'm from Thailand. Okay, I'm from Thailand, definitely Thai food. That is a subjectivity. So in that case, if ChatGPT or GPT model comes back to you and say, it's Thai food and you like Italian food, you'd be like, oh, I don't think so. Because my personal preference. Also, if it's objective, like 1 + 1 = 2, like the mathematical problem only have one answer. Yes, of course, when it comes out, you might place more trust into it because you can't argue with that, right? Fourth, more trusting in time pressure. You see, same prompt, exactly same prompt. What if you have a meeting in 15 minutes? You're gonna take whatever because you don't have time to just think or ponder upon it. But like, if you have all the time in this world, you are just gonna think about, I need to move this around. I think this better, or whatever you have time to contemplate about it. Okay, last consideration, existing knowledge. And I have to say, you all really, have expertise in your own way and in your own topic. Now, I'm not a C# developers, right? Not .NET developer either. I'm a solution architect, which a lot of developer hates that. I'm sorry. But anyways, say, for example, I don't know anything C#. I know Python, but I'm working on a project in C where I need to perform similar tasks in OpenAI Python embedding, right? How can I find a library for that? Now, whatever that it comes out from GPT model, I'll be like, I'll test it. I will take it and I'll test it. But for you, if you have been doing C# for a while, you might ask like, word to vector, there's embedding that, and you can weigh out the importance or the pros and cons of it as well, like different options. So that's also coming to consideration when you kind of like be more skeptical or less skeptical about the output that it's given to you. Okay, now we're gonna go into prompting techniques. I think I kind of like set the scene enough to make you understand that when people say they love ChatGPT or they don't use it because they're skeptical, because it cannot do whatever it can, I think it's just because we just have so many different views and so many different considerations, as well as our personal values into the lens of when we're using it. Okay, common prompting techniques. This is one of the most simplest prompting methods, giving instructions. AI easily can solve this, right? Write the word NDC Sydney backwards. So yes, NDCDN. So that sounds like a protocol of something, but that's the simplest way that you can do with giving instruction. Or you can give longer instruction. And it's very exciting to see how model can extrapolate from the instruction, because you can see in here that it kind of replace cheap deals with the placeholder for dealership and salesperson for Jimmy Smith, even though in the example just say, hey, John Doe, change to, placeholder name. So it's really exciting to see that it can have that level of transfer learning. Role prompting, you probably have heard about this over and over and over, but it's one of the very effective methods to get a better output from the large language models. So this is, you are an X, act as a Y, or pretend to be, or whatever you want to write it, but keyword is the role that you want it to play. So in this case, it's cost optimization specialist, because you know what? This seems to be a very common topic amongst all my customers these days. How do we optimize costs in cloud? So just list it out and make a comprehensive strategy for it. The next one is few-shot prompting. Anybody have heard about few-shot prompting? Yeah, you have heard about few-shot prompting. Would you like to come up? And no? Okay, that's fine. I'm sorry. So a common way to adapt language model to new tasks is through few-shot learning. What do they mean by that? You give an example. Few shots is whatever shot there is an example that you give it for it to learn. It's a set of training example that you provide so that you give a context to the model. What I think Scott kind of mentioned the context a lot in his keynote this morning. So the context to the models. Now, I'll show you the graph in the couple of slides. I'll tell you why it is important to have the shot prompting. Then you also have other shot prompting. You have zero shot prompting, right? in English, what does this Mandarin character mean, right? So this is the most basic form of prompting. You don't give any example for it at all. It's simply showing the model without any example or generating any response. It's just completion. You don't give any example. So in English, ni hao is a Mandarin Chinese greeting, translate to hi or hello. And then you have one-shot prompt. So one-shot prompt, how many example? One-shot prompt. If you listen to me, you got to pay attention, because you have to help me improve the prompt later. How many? One? Okay, yeah, that's right. So one-shot prompting is when you show a single example. So zero-shot is where the model make prediction without additional context, right? But one-shot or few-shot prompting use small amount of data or small amount of that context that you give, usually between 2 and 5, good numbers. It learns from the limited data and use to generate response and makes predictions for a similar task or prompts. So these shots prompting, it use transfer learning techniques and it kind of trying to adapt to whatever task that you ask it at that point in time. It's very good for smaller model for performance. So GPT-4, it's brilliant. Capability is brilliant, but it's so expensive, right? It's so expensive. If you want to use like a local models or open source, it might be less capable, but it's still doing the task. So you can actually use the short prompting to help it learn in context. So maybe consider that. This is actually from a paper called Language Model Are Few-Shot Learners. You can see that as we increase from zero shots, actually maybe this side, as you increase from zero shot to one shot to few shot, especially for GPT models 3, the accuracy go up significantly. So smaller model really benefit from you having more context, more example into it. Okay, so then you can also combine all the technique I talked about it before, right? You have the role, you have the instruction, you have the example. And in this case, you can see that, okay, your social media analyzer want to classify this. You kind of give the role and you give the instruction, what it needs to do. You give an example of the 2 tweets before, and then the last tweet is like, it needs to complete. What is it? And then it kind of have that transfer learning capability to pick it up that, okay, we categorize the topic here. Okay, style and tone. You know how I talk about the personalizations? So say I have a new grad high joining. Don't know if you can see it. Can you see at the back? Is it too small? Yeah, okay. So, have a grad high joining Diamond Corp, right? And you see like the first one without style. It say, dear new high's name, we think we are thrilled to welcome you, blah, blah, blah. And then you have your name, human resource manager at Diamond Corp. Whereas when you say with style, and I know that this person just graduated from university and Gen Z, and you see like how it's actually give the output out, give the response back, it's tailored to Gen Z. It's like, hey, hi. And I know that because I'm Gen Z. Actually, I'm in between Gen Z and Gen Y. And I was like, yeah, I feel so included in the company onboarding experience. But that is something that you can do. So there's some examples of the style and tone that you can be more persuasive, professional, narrative, formal, descriptive, and so on. All the adjective you want, just put it in, okay? And you also have the format. The format could be a table, could be an essay, could be code block, report, tweet. Well, code block is really depends on what you're trying to do. If you kind of go into GitHub Copilot, it's kind of set it as, code block anyways. But depends on which API you call and which GPT tool you use as well. Could be tweet, video script, XML, JSON, bullet points, and so on. Anybody actually have a weirder format than this? Can you share? I would love to learn more. Have you used other formats than this one that I put on the screen? No? Okay, that's fine. If you do and you're shy, come and talk to me later, okay? All right, so let's move on to a more advanced technique. Have anybody heard about chain of thought prompting? Oops, My boss. I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. Okay. Chain of thought prompting. Not many of you have heard about chain of thought. So basically, this technique is really good for reasoning, the complex tasks. This can be combined with few shot prompting to get better results on more logical tasks that it require reasoning before responding. So this method is very effective for complex tasks. That's me. Hit my 30 minutes, so I know that I need to speed up. So this method is really effective for complex tasks that can't be solved in one go. So you have to divide it in smaller steps, and you kind of linked it together. So you can see if it's just one-shot prompting, as in general, you can see that Roger has 5 tennis ball. He buys 2 more cans of tennis ball. Each can has 3 tennis ball. How many do we have now? And you kind of say the answer is 11. You give it like an example. The answer is 11, and you can see like when you ask it to complete, the answer is wrong. The answer is 27, which is not 27. It should be something else. Chain of thought prompting is when you kind of like walk it step by step. Instead of you say thinking step by step, you kind of show it the scaffolding of, okay, what's going to happen next. So in this case, is Roger start with 5 balls, 2 cans of tennis, each 2 cans of tennis ball each is 6 tennis balls, 5 plus 6 equal to 11, and so on. And when it kind of gives you the response back, it walks you through the thinking process behind the scene or the calculation process behind the scene. If you use GPT-4 today, it's there for you, but it's also expensive. I think it's premium, so you have to pay, or you have to use Microsoft Copilot. I'm not sure if I think you have to have Microsoft account or something like that, but it depends on the tool that you use and the models. Okay, so that's chain of thought. Now we also have tree of thoughts. So in a typical chain of thought situation, the model will come up with answer step by step, right? Create the next token based on what they just written. But without going back to fix any mistakes, it's keep making up words. It keep having more errors, right? The more errors is made, the more it's go down the generation. So it's hard for the model to correct and move it forward. Now, tree of thought is similar to chain of thought, but essentially just before you kind of get the output back, you kind of walk it through each step of the way. So you see, actually I sent this to my boss as well. So I said, you can use this prompt to help plan your resources. And he was laughing. And he was like, do you mean our team? I was like, well, I don't know. But anyway, so I had a team of 10 engineers, 100 customers. The original prompt that the one that I got, and you can test it for yourself, the one-shot prompting without example, you can see that the answer is actually still 10 customer each, right? Because it get confused. So if you kind of use the tree of thought prompting, it helps with the calculation or the reasoning behind the scenes. So I have a team of 10 engineers and 100 customers. They had 10 customers each. The company laid 3 of them off, which left me with 7 engineers. So you kind of help it do like the calculations at each step. Soon after that, 2 resigned to build their own business, which left me with 5 engineers. And I can backfill 1 position, would bring me up to 6. How many customers should I reassign to all of them now? And if you test this out, and it will tell you, I think it's like 8 or 6 or something like that. I'm not good at maths today, but let me know what you get. Okay, and then system message, which you probably have seen a little bit behind the scene as well if you have not used the system message before. This one is the example that I took it from, the GPT that you can build on OpenAI, the GPT. This is the Zapier connection to Gmail. So their system message is like this, because I was trying to call something from my Gmail account and summarize it, or like pick up a keyword or something like that. So the system message, it doesn't have to always be like the role prompt. It could be mentioning about the step that it has to take, the step that you need to verify first. And sometimes you might hear a system message or they refer to meta prompt. So like the prompt that is not shown to the user, which is like behind the scene. So you can define it however you like. You can ask the model to complete the task. You can define the scope and limitation, posture, tones, language, syntax, and all those things. Another example, oops, sorry. You know what? I was looking at the wrong slides. I'm sorry. The Zapier one is here. The second example. I'm so sorry about that. So this is the Zapier. Zapier example. So it kind of tells the custom actions and the rules and the function call that it has to do. The previous one is example of, the gating process. Can we see? Okay, like to avoid copyright infringement, if user use copyrighted, you must not violate any copyrights at all. So actually, I don't know if you know about this, but this clause have to be in your AI application in order to be protected with the copyrights the copyright commitment from Microsoft, because we kind of have that copyright commitments coming out for Azure OpenAI as well. But you have to put like this clause into your meta prompt in order, like as part of the requirements to be protected for that. Okay, and then you also have prompt chaining. So prompt chaining, you break down the multiple tasks into a smaller prompts and you pass the output to one prompt to the next. You can chain 3 different prompts together and you can see it could be like 3 different tasks. But you use like a variable to refer to the output of the previous one. So this is good for multiple steps, involve different tasks. It can also help you debug or troubleshoot, especially if it's if the task is really complex or really long. So in this sense, I actually have an example here. Let me see. Can I see this? Okay. Can we see this? Okay, so you see here's the system message, right? You are an AI-powered medical assistant. User wants to talk about specific patient clinical note. And then you will convert this note into a referring doctor to a referred doctor. And this is a variable. And you can set the variable in here. So I kind of set the referred doctor Meredith Gray, referring doctor Sean Murphy. And I also have patient email because I want this to output a patient email, right? And send it to john@brown.com. So patient clinical note. Let me see if I have. Okay, I have a patient clinical note, like a mocking one here, and I'll just paste it in. And you can see that it say, okay, John Brown. So usually doctor would just write gibberish or like quick keywords, 60 years old male, symptoms, ST, elevation. I can't pronounce that word, I'm sorry. Myocardial infection or something like that. So, okay, I'm going to apply change and I'll see that. And let's say I'm not just a chat, I'm just trying to do something else. I'm going to say, every time that this is called, right, automate the letter for John Brown. And you can see that you can hook this up to your database and stuff like that. But in this one, I'm just going to use the simplest chat-like experience for us to see. So I'm going to choose the deployment models. I have 3.5 Turbo, 16,000 contexts, 4 and 32,000 contexts as well. But I'm just going to use like the cheaper one because I have limited credits in my subscription. So I'm just going to say, okay, automate. And then from here, just like a little, dot points, it kind of automate the email, write the subject, and dear Dr. Meredith Gray. So that is, what did I put? Referred doctor, right? Okay, so Dr. Meredith Gray need to see John Brown after this, yada, 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 and then sign off your name. Obviously, I did not write this prompt well enough. So then if you can also tell it in this prompt, system message to sign off with your name. So that's how you would do prompt chaining when you have multiple tasks, okay? All right. Now, a little bit more of advanced technique. When you adjust the parameters, you can also see the temperatures, more numbers, depending on the API you call, the 0 and 2. I think on OpenAI, if you go into the playground, if you go into Azure OpenAI, it's only up to 1. So 0 means less creative, conservative, predictable. 2, more random, that magnum or magma, well, was it magnum? I can't even say the words properly, but you know what I mean to refer to Scott's session this morning. But, it's more out of control, more creative, more unpredictable. But that also depends on how you view creativity. So yeah, if you lower the temperature, it will give you more conservative, more focused response. And imagine that would be good for, say, if I were to write a referral letter to Dr. Meredith Gray, I don't want it to be creative, right? I want it to tell it as it is. Okay, the next one as well is top K and top P. Have anybody seen top K and top P before? Depending on the API you call, sometimes top P's come up, sometimes top K's come up. Top P's are kind of always there, but essentially it's how the model pick out the output token. So top K is basically ranking. So if you give it 3, it will pick like the three words, right? On the list, the highest. Top P is by percentage. So when you say 0.7, it's just going to look at all the sums of all the percentages, and then it will say like, oh, okay, if I only want 0.7, I'm just going to get the 4 out of the list, because if you make a calculation, you see it's all of that equal to 70.35%. So that's how they kind of pick up the words. But this is more of trying to make your the words or the outputs more creative or more varies, but it also depends on the application that you are building for as well. Okay, frequency penalty and present penalty. Essentially, they're trying to control the repetition of words and phrases that it responds. So for frequency penalty, the higher the value, it discourages the model from generating the same word from multiple times, more varieties in the output, maybe used for creative content writing, avoid redundancy. Anybody use Copilot today? Maybe like just the normal Microsoft 365 Copilot, okay? You see like there's like a button that you can see like more creative or more professional or something like that. So that is how they control how the outputs are gonna be. And you also have present penalty. So present penalty, this one control how relevant the response is. So the higher the number, it encourages the model to generate words and phrases that already presents in the input prompt. So if you talk about apple in your prompt, it will try to stay on the topic, bring more apple in. But on the other hand, if it's lower, it means that it's less constrained by the input prompt. So it will kind of penalize on, okay, I don't want to see apple again. So maybe some other new word or some other new tokens. And that make it, well, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you wanted to introduce no new topic or go off a tangent, you can do that. But if you want it to focus on a topic, you have to increase the present penalty. Okay. Anybody have heard about retrieval augmented generation? Yes, okay, that's good. So basically, you're trying to ground the models on something, right? Because you don't want it to hallucinate, which is a cute nickname that we give it to large language model when it's trying to make stuff up. Now, personally, I don't think hallucination, and just my personal opinions, I don't think hallucination there's something wrong with that. It's like, it's not a bug. It's not something that is wrong. It depends on what you're trying to do. If we go back to setting up your objective of you're trying to do with your large language model prompts, then if you want it to be more creative, of course, I want it to hallucinate it a bit. Like, I don't want it to sound like a prime minister of Thailand or something. So then you would want it to hallucinate, right? But this depends. But for retrieval augmented generations, usually we want the groundedness We want the citations of the sources. When you ask us some sort of knowledge lookup, you want it to go fetch that information, returns it in a way that human-like, and that it gives you a source to that PDF page, or I don't know, some CSV files. So RAG techniques solve this problem because it's ground the models. And you can see that usually you have the user prompt and you might say, help me assess the environment impacts in X. And you might already have your data about environmental impact somewhere in your organizations, right? So you will put this, you have your query data, and then it will get sent, right? It get embed first, get sent to the search index. So the search index is a separate entity because you also have to index your documentation before you can call it back to combine with your context and prompt. So you remember the system message that I showed you? You can insert the context in the system prompt, and sometimes the context could be 500 pages, right? But it won't be included until you call it. And then you combine those, it's query the model. When you say query the model, it send the request to the endpoint, whatever the model you use, send that to that endpoint, and then give the output back. Let's have a look at it quickly because I kind of have this. What time is it? What time do I have until? 40? Okay, so 10 minutes. Yeah, okay, that's good. So then if I go to, okay, this is another example. Is it too small? Hopefully it's not too small. Anybody use prompt flow before? LangChain? Okay, you use a bit of LangChain. So essentially, sometimes you see how when we want to do prompt chaining or RAG pattern or something like that, there's so many workflow that goes into it, right? So either use open source like LangChain that, all code based and you have to put it all together. Or you can also use prompt flow on Azure AI Studio as well, which I use because I love when things are kind of easy, I have to admit. And it actually helped me see how the flow works. So the flow that I showed you on the presentation before, you can see that there's an input in here that goes in. You have to modify the query with history. Is it too small? But what I'm going to show you is actually the indexed. Search index. I think it's here. So as part of this, it's trying to search the question from the index document. I already indexed my document, this is the document that I put into my blog, TikTok, what's next trend, okay? Which is, where's my TikTok? PDF. Okay, here. So there's this trend. TikTok, what's next trend? I want to learn how to create content according to 2024, right? So I have that in my blog and I index it and I can see indexes and I set this up and then I hook it into my flow and I call it in. And this is where the UI of the blob storage is and the query, and somewhere in here, I have the TikTok. It's really hard to see. Okay, so this is not going well for me, but that's okay. But you get the gist. I call the index from the PDF file that I store on my blob storage. Right now I have the runtime up. I can chat with it. And it's also keep the chat history as well. So I kind of test this beforehand because I don't want it to not work while I'm here. So let's say, I'll show you this. So help me tailor my content to TikTok trend in 2024. And I will go to the documentation and I can share this with you because curiosity peak is a particular word that it kind of used in the TikTok what's next trend, which is here. Whereas curiosity peak. Curiosity peak or something like that. Breakthrough. Oops. Our brain's not supposed to work with two screens. I'll tell you that. So, okay, the curiosity peak is like a theme for this 2024 sort of thing, and it would give me all these advice, and I say I want to talk about AI, and it's like great topic. This is how you can adapt the trend to how you're going to present AI on TikTok. And in here, you can see as well that it cites the sources, what's next for 2024 trend report. And you might ask me like, then where do I put my prompt? So all the prompt informations, like all the system messages are in here. So you are an AI-enabled social media expert, blah, blah, blah. You have this context. So this context is the one that got sent from the index. So if I go in here, I could see like the output. It has the system message and combined with the context that I call from key finding 2024, the TikTok trend. Okay, so this is how you would do the RAG pattern with the large language model. So in a way, you still have to do the indexing of your documentation because it can try to find the semantic meanings of it. Okay. I know that we almost at time, we have 10 minutes, but I really want to show you patterns. I know that we're not going to get through all of them, but you know prompt patterns, how it's similar to software patterns, and you are software developers and engineer, you kind of seen it before. So it kind of offer a reusable solution for specific problems. More specifically, it codified the approach of solving common challenges. So these researchers, I think White et al., he kind of comes up with all of these different patterns that we can use, and it's really helpful. Please take a screenshot or something like that. Not screenshot, please take a photo so you can have a look at it yourself later, or I can send it to you after the talk as well. But essentially, for example, you can see this. This is what we call a meta language creation. Sometimes you want to use a symbol to do something. For example, when I say X, I mean Y. An example of this is when you see the triple exclamation mark in a sentence, return a message with a bless emoji to remind me to calm down, right? So for example, if I go to here and I say, if I put my system message in here and say, you are encouraging AI assistants when user put this exclamation mark, always include the bless emoji in your prompt. Apply change. Okay, and then I'm gonna say, okay, what do you want to say? Anybody? What you want to put into the chat? Anything? That's the thing. I'm standing in between you and lunch, and I know you're all gonna get very angry soon. Is it time for lunch? Yet? Why is she still talking? Okay? All right, let's see what it say. Hello, it is understandable that you might feeling impatient. Bless. Remember to take a deep breath and remain calm. Okay, so you can see how that kind of like really useful, right? In terms of meta language creations. Okay, there's this gameplay, like, you know, create security game and it turned that into a Linux and you can like automate how you want to be challenged, whatever the topic. And there's more, but because we're running out of time, so I am gonna skip through the best practice. So quickly, best practice, you know, sometimes you put everything all in at once. It's really good and more effective to kind of have the triple hash or like the triple quotes. And you also have the specificity. You can't just say, hey, write about something, a poem about what's your OpenAI, but you have to be more specific of what you're trying to get it out from it. So write a short, inspiring poem, focus on the future of work, like what is the focus, right? And articulate the desired output through examples. So it's kind of more effective. If you trying to give it an example, as I said, the few shots or short prompts, 5 to 3 sentences, to tell what you want it to do, right? Reduce the fluffiness and imprecision in the description. You can only see that every word in prompt matter because, make bang and make a bang is totally the different things. More effective, instead, don't say what not to do, kind of tell it what to do instead because we get confused as well when we're trying to say negative and then trying to be positive. So, same thing as the language models. Or leading words, because sometimes you use it for coding and sometimes you might want to use it for a specific language. Okay, before you go to prompt, because I kind of promised that I'm going to do a live prompt or you help me improve. But I don't know yet if you kind of will be less shy about it until now because we have 5 minutes left. Well, what's the last prompt you use? If you can tell me, I can help you improve. Everybody here can help you improve. Or maybe it's too personal, like a search result. Yes, Michelle.
I just asked it to write a LinkedIn recommendation for a student who used to help me out with stuff.
Okay, all right, let's do this. So can you tell me exactly what you wrote? Help.
I said, please can you write a LinkedIn recommendation for Prote, who used to be a student learn ambassador, helping me teach students in the Microsoft Accelerator program.
Ambassador to help?
To help me teach students in the Microsoft Student Accelerator program.
Okay, ambassador, I cannot spell that, but that's okay. Student learn ambassador to help me
teach students.
Other students in Microsoft Learn Accelerator program. Okay, let's do this. Let's see what it's gonna give it to us. Okay, dear. Oh, wow. I'm writing LinkedIn recommend. Wow, who write LinkedIn recommendation like that? This is like an email to somebody high up. How would we do this? How would we change this right LinkedIn recommendations? What is your goal, Michelle? Are you putting this somewhere?
Yeah, it's in his LinkedIn recommendations, but I used Bing Copilot to do it, and it did a really good job, I thought. It was long, but I pasted it in. It looked good.
Okay, so, program let's say the output, okay? Actually, maybe we change the system message. How about that? You are LinkedIn expert. Oh, nobody helping me here. We're gonna go out for lunch. No? Okay, you are LinkedIn expert. You help user refine. By the way, I didn't know that Michelle gonna say this, okay? This is totally unstaged. So my brain is blank. Help me, please. So you help user refine recommendation. What's the goal of recommendation? When you write a recommendation for somebody, what do you want them to get out from it? A job? Okay, recommendation for a job. Okay. User recommendation. You help user refine recommendation for them to get a job, for them to get a job.
More job opportunities.
To get a job or more job opportunities. Or be more visible for job opportunities. Be more visible for job opportunities. Opportunities. What job is that? Any job? Cleaning? Developers, okay. For developer jobs, opportunity. Okay. What else can we make this better so that Michelle can kind of use it for her LinkedIn? A style? Okay. I'll say you will remain professional and concise. I like that. And concise. Okay, you. Okay. You will remain professional and concise. Oops, sorry. Stop. So, yep. 1 second. Give me 2 more minutes, please. So, okay. Remains professional and concise, not more than 2 sentences. Oh, 2 sentences or 2 paragraphs, sorry. Pardon? We can change it to speeches.
Users to teachers. You help teachers.
You
help teachers.
Teacher. Where is it? Oh, you will remain professional and concise for more than 2 paragraphs. Sorry, 1 second. My brain cannot multitask. Teachers. Oh, okay. To get a job. Okay. For student, learn ambassador, to help me teach other student. Where should I put the word teacher?
So along with the users.
Okay.
Users and teachers.
To help user and teacher. I see. To help.
The second line. You are LinkedIn expert. You help users and teachers.
And user. Okay. All right. We happy with this? That's all good. I'm going to save it first. And then
ground what student learn ambassador is, like insert factual information of what a student learn ambassador is.
Make sure you...
No. Like go get what a student learn ambassador is. Ground it.
Okay. We will pretend that happens already.
Oh, okay.
Because it does take time to set it up a little bit. As in, like, yes, that's true. So pretend hypothetically, that is
just
really
like copy
good.
and paste it. Google it, copy and paste it.
Okay. Oh my God, you're so smart. Microsoft Student Learn. You know when you stress and your finger's no longer with you? That's what happened right now. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, Microsoft become... Michelle, where is the description of student learn?
Yeah, you would be best asking Copilot to tell you what is a student learning ambassador rather than search the yourself.
Okay. What is student learn ambassador?
Oh yeah, there it is. All that. Just copy that.
Okay, that's smart. All right, hang on 1 second. Let it do its things. See more. Oh, come on, stop responding. All good. They're all hungry. Okay, let's go back. That's the doctor one. Okay, and we can say, maybe we add variables and we say context. How about that? Contexty. Definitely not context. Okay. And then paragraph used context. Okay. For your reference. Why can't I type? Use reference. Use context for your reference for MSA, okay? Oh, well, in fact, let's just type it out. Microsoft Student learn ambassador. Okay, all right, we happy with that? Okay, looks like I also not, it's so tiny. I'm so sorry, like it's so tiny on this screen. Continue. Okay, now I say, so what's the name of the student, Michelle? Okay, okay, sorry, I will probably use something else. Okay, 1 second. Write me a LinkedIn recommendation for, okay, for Gia, who has been a Microsoft ambassador. Okay, what else do we miss? Nothing.
Clear the previous chat.
To get a job. You are very smart. That is really good. Okay, we will clear the chat. All right, let's see. How does this look? Is it better? Better than a long email? Great. Okay, I highly recommend you for any job opportunity. Yes, that's right. High employability. She's been passionate about all of these things, yada, yada, yada. So would you trust this more than the previous example? Yeah? Okay, so I know this is so simple, like this is so simple, but this would be like the actual thought process that kind of go in. Well, you do more iteration. If you want it to be more creative, whatever, you change the parameters here as well, okay? But that is how you would kind of go through the prompt engineering. And of course, you can incorporate like change of thought, tree of thoughts, and all those things that I showed you before today too. Okay. Before the last slides, all right, this is a homework for you. Help me improve this prompt. If you ever, take a photo because it's going to be homework. So if you take a photo, if you improve this prompt, send it to me and, let's, talk about it. Tutor me on cloud computing topics. I need to sit this AZ 102 exam certification soon, okay? Need to make it interactive, rigorous, inclusive, and well-paced, okay? And you connect with me on LinkedIn, and then we can talk about it, how's your prompts going. Anyway, so that brings me to the last one. So can we really trust the large language output? Yes, we can, but trust thoughtfully because it also depends on, your personal predispositions, the risk you perceive, what's the task you're trying to do at the time. It depends, right? So no matter how good of a prompt you can design, you always need to check and never take the output as it is free from bias or any discriminations or factual. So anyways, I hope you have fun. I know you all look very fun and I'm standing in between your lunch, which I'm quite late to finish this session. Thank you very much for sticking around and I will see you outside.